What if the UK's grandest palaces were more than just stunning architecture, hiding dark secrets and restless spirits? From whispered cries to shadowy figures, these palaces are full of chilling mysteries. One Blenheim Palace set amidst the tranquil woods of Oxfordshire, Blenheim Palace dazzles the eye with its Baroque magnificence. But behind its golden facade lies a chilling story whispered only among caretakers and longtime staff. The legend speaks of a clergyman, the chaplain, whose presence is felt most strongly in the Dean Jones room. He is said to appear only when the house falls quiet, a time when the wind outside stops howling, and even the grandfather clocks seem to hesitate. Staff have spoken of entering the room only to find the heavy curtains swaying, despite no open windows. Books have fallen from shelves without cause, and a faint scent of old incense hangs in the air. One former groundskeeper, staying overnight during restoration work in the early 2000s, awoke at 3:13 a.m. to the unmistakable sound of pages turning, not hurriedly, but slow and deliberate. Following the sound, he stood frozen at the doorframe of the study. There, in the dim moonlight, was the outline of a man seated in an antique chair, head bowed as if reading a Bible, yet the book he held shimmered faintly and was upside down. He never returned to work. Visitors to Blenheim speak less of the grandeur now and more of the moments when they feel they're not quite alone in the room. 2. Hampton Court Palace. Among the many royal ghosts that haunt the corridors of Hampton Court Palace, none is more terrifying or tragic than the spirit of Catherine Howard, the fifth wife of King Henry VIII. Accused of adultery and imprisoned within the palace, Catherine made a desperate attempt to plead with the king for mercy. She broke free from her guards and sprinted down what is now infamously known as the Haunted Gallery. Witnesses say she screamed and pounded on the doors of the king's chapel, begging for her life before being dragged away. Days later, she was executed. What's unsettling is not the story itself. It's the fact that the gallery remains one of the most active supernatural sites in England. Guards have refused to patrol it alone at night. A royal aide once collapsed after seeing what he described as a translucent figure in white, gliding with hands outstretched in terror. Thermal cameras have picked up strange cold spots, ice-cold columns of air that move with no source. Several tourists have fainted upon entering the gallery, with one woman claiming she heard a woman sobbing so loudly, "I thought someone was being attacked." Perhaps the most terrifying aspect is not Catherine's ghostly figure, but the overwhelming desperation that still lingers. If energy truly never dies, then hers, born of betrayal and fear, is very much alive. 3. Lambeath Palace. Nestled on the banks of the Thames, Lambeath Palace seems a stoic symbol of ecclesiastical power. But in the shadow of its centuries-old walls lies a ghost story that unnerved even the clergy. In the 1960s, an elderly woman living in adjacent quarters reported persistent late-night knocking. The knocks were not polite. They were urgent, rhythmic, relentless. Every night, at precisely 2:04 a.m., the sound would begin. She opened her door many times. No one was ever there. Police were called. Nothing was found. The woman, certain she was losing her mind, kept a log. Over 40 nights, the knocking occurred without fail. Then, one day, it stopped. Coincidentally or not, a restoration project began weeks later, during which workers unearthed 2 skeletons buried under an old stairwell. Both were adult males, dressed in what appeared to be tattered clerical robes. No record of them exists. Paranormal investigators suggest the knocking was a residual haunting, a spirit attempting to draw attention to their unmarked grave. Some theorize they were killed during the English Civil War, silenced and buried in haste. Today, Lambeath Palace is quiet again. But should you visit and feel an inexplicable urgency at a door that seems to knock itself, no, you're not the first. 4. Buckingham Palace. While Buckingham Palace is globally recognized for its royal pageantry and splendor, very few are aware of the stories that stalk its lavish halls after dark. Some say the Queen's Guard fear the Grey Man, a shadowy figure seen pacing the royal mews, often before times of national crisis. But perhaps the most unsettling tale comes from the East Wing, where several palace aides have reported inexplicable whispers, the strong scent of lavender, and doors opening without human touch. In the early 1900s, a palace butler reportedly saw a woman in Victorian dress walking through a closed door. Her face was pale, and she clutched what appeared to be a letter in her hand. When he turned to follow her, she vanished. But a deep cold settled over the corridor that lasted until morning. Speculation has swirled that the palace, built over ancient monastic lands, sits atop forgotten graves. Others believe former royal residents, especially the women who died tragically, still linger within their former chambers. No official record ever acknowledges these sightings. But if walls could speak, Buckingham Palace would whisper of more than state secrets. It would echo with footsteps that never fade. 5. Linlitho Palace. Set against a loch and surrounded by whispering willows, Linlitho Palace is a romantic ruin, but also one of Scotland's most haunted. The birthplace of Mary, Queen of Scots, the palace is steeped in political betrayal and deep personal sorrow. According to local legend, Mary's nursemaid died suddenly in the nursery shortly after the Queen's birth. Some say she fell, others whisper she was pushed. Since then, strange activity has plagued the former nursery wing. Windless days have brought the sound of a cradle creaking back and forth. Visitors describe a soft, rhythmic squeak, followed by the faintest lullaby, sung in Scots Gaelic. Paranormal groups who investigated reported a powerful energy shift near the old nursery, EMF spikes, unexplained cold blasts, and static that scrambled their audio recordings. One chilling account comes from a night watchman in 1996 who entered the ruins during a winter storm to secure a gate. He heard crying echo through the stone halls, not the cry of a woman, but that of an infant. He found no one, but the snow at his feet bore a single set of footprints, too small for an adult. To this day, some say Mary's childhood spirit remains tied to her birthplace. Others believe the palace has absorbed the sorrow of her turbulent life and still echoes it on windswept nights. 6. Palace of Holyrood House. Tucked at the foot of Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh, the Palace of Holyrood House exudes royal grandeur, but its elegant halls conceal one of the most violent and chilling hauntings in Scottish history. In 1566, David Rizzio, the close confidant and possibly lover of Mary, Queen of Scots, was brutally murdered in her private chambers. Accused of treason by jealous nobles, Rizzio was dragged from Mary's side, stabbed 56 times, and left to bleed out on the chamber floor. To this day, visitors report a palpable heaviness in the room where Rizzio died. Guides speak of cold gusts of air that swirl inexplicably around the fireplace and of footsteps pacing the wooden floors long after closing time. But the most disturbing detail, the bloodstain. Though scrubbed countless times over the centuries, a reddish-brown mark said to be Rizzio's blood still seeps through the floorboards. Some say it grows darker on stormy nights. Several former residents swore they heard muffled screams or felt someone tug at their garments when alone in the West Wing. Mary's sorrow, they say, never left the palace, and neither did Rizzio's rage. Even now, some believe that if you kneel at the hearth and listen closely, you'll hear his final, gasping breath echo through stone. 7. Fulham Palace. Nestled by the River Thames, Fulham Palace was once the country residence of the Bishops of London, a place of quiet retreat and study. But beneath its peaceful facade, a chilling tale lurks. It is said that one 17th-century bishop, driven by a desperate need to protect himself from the plague, resorted to forbidden rites. He buried dark secrets in his study, which remained sealed for over a century. The study, long abandoned and left to decay, became the epicenter of strange happenings. Staff have long spoken of the eerie atmosphere in the old library, where books appear to rearrange themselves overnight, as though searching for forgotten knowledge. In the bishop's former quarters, the faint smell of burnt incense still lingers, even when no candle is lit. Some claim to have heard soft chanting, low and indistinct, whispering through the walls like an invocation from another time. One night in 1972, a security guard ventured into the sealed study and swore he saw a figure, cloaked in shadow, kneeling by the cold hearth, whispering in a language unknown. He fled terrified, only to return later with others, finding the room empty once again. But the chill in the air persisted. Is it the bishop's spirit, forever trapped in ritual, or something darker, still waiting to be uncovered? 8. Richmond Palace. Once a favorite residence of Queen Elizabeth III, Richmond Palace no longer stands in full, yet its foundations remain soaked in royal history and something colder. It is said that the Virgin Queen herself continues to haunt the remnants of her beloved home, the place where she took her final breath in 1603. Eyewitnesses in nearby homes and along the riverbank have described seeing a pale figure in a rough collar and stiff Tudor gown, gliding silently through the gardens at dusk. One chilling account, from 1983, comes from a caretaker who saw a woman in Elizabethan dress pass directly through a bricked-up door, her hands clasped tightly as if holding a scroll. There's an eerie synchronicity to these sightings. Many claim the ghost only appears in the final days of March, the anniversary of her death, and always at twilight. Paranormal researchers suggest the Queen's spirit, long bound by duty, may still walk the grounds in silent contemplation of her legacy. Richmond Palace is now part of a residential neighborhood, but every spring, windows facing the river are mysteriously kept closed. 9. The ghost of a young maid, known as the blue-skirted maid, is often seen wandering the palace's corridors. This restless spirit is believed to be the soul of a servant girl who disappeared under mysterious circumstances in the 17th century. Her ghost is most often seen in the kitchen and buttery, where staff have experienced strange occurrences, heavy doors swinging open on their own, faint music drifting from empty rooms, and the occasional soft, melodic humming. Children who visit the palace have been known to point towards the empty rooms, claiming to see a young woman weeping in the corner. In one particularly unsettling encounter, a historian who had stayed late to examine the archives captured a strange photograph of the courtyard. In the image, a faint silhouette of a woman in a flowing blue gown appeared, standing beneath a lantern that had long since been extinguished. Yet when she looked up from her camera, the courtyard was empty. The historian was convinced the photograph revealed something otherworldly, as the air had grown unnaturally cold before the image was taken. The blue-skirted maid lingers, still bound by her sorrow, her spirit a silent witness to the passage of time, as though she never left, still waiting for something or someone to return. 10. Dunfermline Abbey and Palace. Once the royal seat of medieval Scotland and the burial site of Robert the Bruce, Dunfermline Abbey and Palace are steeped in sacred history and solemn hauntings. Among the most whispered tales is that of the phantom bell ringer. Though the bell tower has been silent for centuries, residents still report hearing its mournful toll echoing across the grounds during the darkest hours before dawn. One chilling story dates back to the 1940s, when a sexton claimed he was locked inside the abbey overnight. At 3:06 a.m., the bells began to ring, not wildly, but slowly and rhythmically. He rushed to the tower, only to find no ropes, no clappers, and the metal itself cold to the touch. Some believe the toll marks the anniversary of a royal death. Others say it's the soul of a monk, wrongfully executed for heresy, condemned to ring the call to prayer for eternity. Audio recordings taken during paranormal investigations have captured low, metallic sounds, and what some claim are whispers in Latin beneath the tone. Today, the bells remain motionless. But ask the townsfolk of Dunfermline, and they'll tell you, if you hear the bell tolling on a windless night, you'd best say a prayer. 11. Scone Palace. Located in the heart of Scotland, Scone Palace is a majestic ancient site, the birthplace of kings and the place where Scotland's monarchs were crowned for centuries. But despite its grandeur, it is also home to a restless spirit, the ghost of a long-dead king. This phantom ruler, a regal figure cloaked in tartan and royal garb, is often seen wandering the grounds, his presence as heavy as the weight of history itself. Legend tells of a king who was betrayed by his own kin. After an attempted return to claim his crown, he was struck down in battle and exiled, never to sit on the throne. His spirit, consumed by bitterness and unfinished business, never found rest, and today it still haunts Scone Palace, forever bound to the land of his ancestors. Witnesses who have ventured near the ancient stone used in coronations claim to feel a sudden, bone-chilling coldness that spreads through their body, making them feel as though they are being watched. On rare occasions, the king's spectral form is seen walking through the palace halls or standing at the coronation stone, his gaze fixed on a throne that is no longer his. Those who have seen him describe an intense, almost unbearable presence, a reminder of what was lost. Some believe that the king is waiting for a rightful heir to restore the honor of his reign, while others think he is searching for redemption from the betrayal that led to his downfall. Could this phantom king's spirit ever truly find peace? Or is he condemned to walk the palace for eternity, forever seeking what he lost? 12. Spiny Palace. Hidden in the quiet town of Elgin, the ruins of Spiny Palace have long stood as a symbol of Scottish history, but they also harbor a dark, tragic secret. The haunting of a princess whose life was cut short before she could truly take her place in history still echoes through the cold stone halls of the palace. Though her name is lost to time, the tale of her death has lived on for centuries. The princess was believed to have been poisoned by a jealous rival, a fellow noblewoman who coveted the throne and power that the young princess was set to inherit. The princess died slowly, alone, and in agony, her cries unheard by the court. Her spirit, shattered by her untimely end, never left the palace, and it is said she continues to roam the halls, forever searching for her life that was so cruelly stolen. Visitors who wander the ruins speak of an overwhelming feeling of sorrow and a sense of being followed, as though someone invisible is walking just behind them. Some even claim to have seen her pale form drifting through the hallways or peering from the windows, her face twisted in sorrow. At night, the air grows thick, and a soft, almost inaudible weeping can be heard, rising from the very stones of the palace itself. In the quiet moments before dawn, some have even reported seeing a faint, glowing light near the princess's chamber, though no one is ever there when they go to investigate. Her spirit endures, forever bound to the place where she was denied the life she should have led, a princess lost to time. The Bishop's Palace and Gardens. The Bishop's Palace and Gardens in Wells may appear peaceful, but beneath the beauty lies a terrifying history of obsession and dark rituals. The haunting here is tied to Bishop John, a 14th century cleric who was deeply devoted to the church, yet his devotion led him down a dangerous path. As time passed, he grew obsessed with the idea of immortality and sought to unlock the secrets of life beyond death. His desire for eternal life led him to conduct forbidden rites within the very walls of the palace. In his final years, Bishop John became a shadow of the man he once was. He locked himself away in the palace's hidden chambers, his only companions the grim tomes of ancient knowledge. The more he delved into dark magic, the more his health deteriorated, yet his desire for immortality kept him alive long after he should have passed. The bishop's desperate, frenzied attempts to cheat death were ultimately unsuccessful, and he died alone in the palace, his spirit forever tethered to the place where his obsession began. Today, visitors who wander the bishop's palace report strange occurrences: cold winds that chill to the bone, footsteps that seem to follow them, and a strange, oppressive silence that pervades certain rooms. In the early hours of the morning, some have seen the bishop's spectral form, hunched over a book, his pale, withered hands turning the pages of a text that should never be read. The air becomes thick with the scent of incense, and a soft whispering can be heard, as though the bishop is still trying to summon something or someone into the realm of the living. Bishop John's spirit is trapped in the very palace that was once his domain, forever cursed to seek what he could never obtain: eternal life. The Crystal Palace. The Crystal Palace, once an architectural marvel, is now nothing more than a memory, its grandeur lost to a catastrophic fire in 1936. Yet the spirit of its architect, Sir Joseph Paxton, is said to remain, forever bound to the ruins of his beloved creation. Paxton was a visionary, responsible for creating one of the most innovative buildings of the 19th century. But after the destruction of the palace, Paxton was never able to witness his masterpiece's completion, and it is believed that his spirit still lingers, mourning the loss. Visitors to the grounds of the Crystal Palace site report strange phenomena: an overwhelming sense of presence, a sudden drop in temperature, and the eerie sound of footsteps in the distance. Some even claim to hear the sound of metal clinking, as if tools are being used in the construction of the palace, despite the fact that the site has been reduced to ashes for decades. On some nights, people say they have seen Paxton's figure standing among the ruins, gazing at the foundation where his dream once stood. His face is filled with sorrow and longing, as though he is still trying to rebuild what was destroyed. Some claim that when the first light of dawn touches the ruins, they can glimpse the faint outlines of the palace, a mirage of glass and steel rising from the ashes. Sir Joseph Paxton's spirit is bound to the Crystal Palace, forever seeking the chance to rebuild what he lost, trapped in the ruins of his greatest achievement. 15. Folkland Palace. Folkland Palace, with its serene gardens and tranquil surroundings, holds a tragic love story that has haunted the grounds for centuries. The tale of the cursed lovers begins with a young nobleman and a commoner whose love was forbidden by their families. Their secret meetings in the palace gardens were a refuge from the constraints of their world. But fate had other plans. The nobleman's family intervened, forcing them apart, and the young woman, heartbroken and desperate, took her own life. The lover, shattered by her death, never recovered. His spirit, too, became trapped within the palace walls, and some say his ghost still roams the garden, searching for his lost love. Visitors to the grounds often report feeling a strange pull towards the fountains and flower beds, as if being led to an ancient memory. At night, the soft rustling of leaves can sometimes be heard, followed by the faint sound of a woman's sobs. On moonlit nights, it is said that the two lovers are briefly reunited, but their reunion is fleeting, and they are soon torn apart once again by the forces of fate. Some who have ventured into the gardens claim to have seen the two of them standing together, though they vanish as quickly as they appear. Their love, never fully realized in life, is condemned to live on in death, a tragic echo that lingers in the beautiful, haunted gardens of Folkland Palace. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, don't forget to subscribe to Creepy Experience for more. Share this video with your friends, and let us know in the comments which haunted palace you dare to visit.